Hello everybody. Today we are going to talk about drawing and specifically the drawing skills that we're going to need for this class. Now, one of the things I like to let everybody know early on is that drawing is really a way of seeing. People are oftentimes very nervous about drawing because they think I just don't have this God-given skill that Michelangelo did, and I just can't draw like he can, or I can't draw like that guy who sits across from me can because he's just amazing and it just seems almost magical. And that oftentimes can feel that way, but really, drawing is something that anybody can do, and it's really all about our perspective. So to start out, I want to look at one of the most famous illusions from the past 100 years or so. When you look at this illustration, many people will see an old woman. She's wearing a fur, she's got a shawl, and she's kind of got her head down. Uh, but it might surprise you to see that, or to hear that other people see instead a young woman who is looking away from us. Now, both of those illustrations are absolutely correct. It just depends on how you look at it. Now, for those of you who can't see what I'm talking about, the young woman is here. Here is her chin. Here is her neck. Here is her necklace. Here is her ear. Whereas with the old woman, here is her nose. Here is her mouth. And here is her eye. Look at those for a second, and if you didn't see one and then all of a sudden the other one may pop into view, it's kind of startling sometimes. And that's partly because of the way our brain works. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But keep in mind that the one you saw first is probably the one that is going to stick in your mind the strongest. Now, the way our brain works is pretty important to the study of drawing. So let's talk about it just a second. We have two sides to the brain, as you probably knew. We have a left side and a right side. They're called hemispheres. Now, the left side is a little stodgier, a little more serious, whereas the right side tends to be a little bit more artistic and expressionist. Now, what does that have to do with drawing, though? Like, why does that matter? The left side of our brain tends to be very analytical, very logical, very categorical, meaning that it likes to put things in categories. It likes to put things in lists and boxes. The right side of the brain is, on the other hand, more emotional, holistic, expressionistic, you might say artistic. The left side of the brain loves to put things in boxes and basically leave them there. That's the whole idea of categorizing, right? The right side of our brain, on the other hand, is very interested in new angles, shapes, and experiences. But again, what does this have to do with anything? Well, here's a weird quirk of biology. The left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, whereas the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. Now, I have no idea why that is, but it does have a fundamental effect on us. You see, most people are right-handed. Now, right-handed people means that they have the dominant side of their brain is the left side. The left side of the brain, as we said, is analytical, and logical. And so right-handed people tend to be more linear thinkers. We like things to go in order, A to B to C to D. And I'm right in there in that. I am a right-handed person. Most people are. Now, the left-handed people, however, those people are far less numerous than right-handed people. And for years and years, left-handed people were seen as suspicious. In fact, the Latin word for left is sinister. So left-handed people were thought to be doing something wrong, that it was not proper, and in fact, teachers used to make left-handed people write with their right hands to kind of break them of that. But what people didn't realize is that left-handed people tend to be more creative than right-handed people. Now, neuroscientists would probably tell us that this is incredibly simplistic and that this is not really the full story, and I will easily admit to that. But as a basic rule of thumb, this is a good way of thinking about the way the brain works. Now, where that affects us in drawing is in what we call the tyranny of the symbol system. The symbol system is something that we all learned early on. And when do we learn those basics? When do we learn our basic building blocks? In elementary school. Now, if I were to call you up to the board or ask you to just get out a piece of paper and draw a house, for example, almost everyone would draw the exact same drawing. I mean, not exactly to line by line, but I've been doing this for a lot of years, and every time I have somebody come up to the board, draw a house, they basically draw this, okay? So that is basically the drawing you get. Well, let's go back to thinking about elementary school. This is where we learn our numbers, letters, colors, and shapes, and we also learn our basic drawing skills. Now, when you learn your numbers, the left side of your brain puts all those in a line. 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. When you learn your letters, it puts them all in order. A, B, C. The colors, it says there are certain things that are red, there are certain things that are blue, trees are green, the sky is blue, the sun is yellow, boom, 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 boom. Okay, it puts everything in a box. Well, it has a box for things that you draw as well. And it puts this drawing into a box labeled drawing of a house. And that's good enough for the left side of the brain. It says, I don't need any more. I don't need to think about it anymore. As far as a drawing of the sun, there you go. That goes in a box called drawing of the sun. And the left side of the brain says, that's good. I've learned that. I can move on. And I don't have to relearn it. I don't have to think about it. But the problem is, if you stop and think about it, nobody lives in a house that looks like that, right? I've never even seen a house that looks like that. I've seen a lot of houses that have some similarities to that, yeah, but nobody really lives in a house that looks like that. So the left side of the brain doesn't need it to be more than that. So what we have to do to draw, to learn how to really draw, is to figure out how to turn off the left side of the brain. Is to figure out how to tap into the right side of our brain. If we could learn how to forget the symbols that we were taught, or to ignore those symbols that we were taught, then we can learn to simply copy what we see. And copying what you see is drawing. That's your basic, straightforward, realistic drawing, is just copying exactly what you see. That's what we're going to try and learn how to do. So your first assignment is going to be to take the face-vase illusion. Now, if you got the drawing packet, you should be able to just take the printout. Otherwise, you can go to your Canvas page and print out the one that's there. I want you to trace the printed side into your sketchbook or onto a blank sheet of paper. Okay? It should look something like this. Just trace it right onto the paper. And then your goal is going to be to try to draw the mirror version, the mirror image on the other side. And when it's all done, it has the illusion of being either two faces or a vase. Now you can take your time. I want you to think about the shapes. I want you to think about the angles, the way the line flows, the direction it's going. The paper has a caveat that says you can't use an eraser and you have to use a marker or a crayon. Ignore that. I don't mind if you use an eraser. I don't mind if you plan it out. The only thing you can't do is trace it. You should end up with something that looks like this on the other side. So one side you did trace, the other side is a freehand drawing, and your goal is to try to match them as evenly as possible. This is a good exercise for helping your brain make that cognitive shift, which is what we're looking for. The goal of this is not necessarily to have the most beautiful drawing that you can frame. It's really an exercise to try to get your brain to flip over and look at things in a new way. Okay? The next time we meet, we will look at another exercise that's good for that. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. And I hope you have fun. When you're all done, make sure you take the quiz labeled Face Vase Quiz and turn in the picture of your drawing. Thanks, everybody.